Frank Sinatra saying about New York, that if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Well, that's a fucking lie, because if you can make it in Hamilton, or you can make it in Canada, in fact, you can make it anywhere.
My name is Angelo Sino. I'm a television broadcast student and a hopeful filmmaker. I've been living in this city, Hamilton, Ontario, my entire life. When I was in high school, I used to really be into music. I played in 3 bands from the time I was in 8th grade until I was 19. Sweet Tooth, Paradox, and Clockwork. Hell, I even did my co-op in high school at an independent record label in the city. I would eat, sleep, and breathe the Hamilton music scene. Oh, hold on. It's my buddy Paul from Toronto. Hey, Paul, how are you, man?
Great, you should really reach Toronto tonight. A couple of good shows going on.
That sounds good, man, but I'm already going to hit something up in the Hammer tonight.
In Hamilton? What's in Hamilton?
Funny you should ask. I'm actually making a documentary right now about the Hamilton music scene.
Wait, like right now?
Yeah, like right now. We're actually doing the opening monologue. You kind of interrupted it. We just started shooting for the day.
That should take you, what, like a day? You should come out here tonight, man.
Hamilton's kick-ass, and if you weren't so lost in the maze and craze of Toronto city living, you probably know that.
You don't see anyone making documentaries about people's younger brothers. There's no documentary made about Kurt Cobain's younger brothers, so why should anyone care about Toronto?
Uneducated. Paul Moretti, can you believe that, man? You ready to do it again? I can't believe him. And Kurt Cobain doesn't even have a younger brother. That pisses me off. This has to be good, eh? Hamilton has a history of being an industry-driven city. I'm not alone when I say I've seen more. However, I am not an expert, and I haven't always been connected to the scene. To fully appreciate, respect, and understand anything, you have to visit its past, where it came from, and how it started.
Well, you got to go way back. I often say, in a way, rock and roll was born in 1958 in Hamilton, the day that Ronnie Hawkins came here with Levon Helm to play his first Canadian show. He came here on the advice of Conway Twitty, another great country rocker from the United States who was up here for an extended period of time. He actually wrote one of his big hits here. But he really did bring rock and roll to Canada, and we were really honored to have him here because he nurtured this whole scene.
Teenage Head definitely is a big one, but I mean, even before Teenage Head, you had bands in the 70s like Lighthouse and Crowbar that were having a lot of success across the country. So I think Hamilton's always been known for its music, maybe not as much of an art scene.
In this city, like, you know, working class, rock and roll kind of Hamilton, I think there'll always be a rock and roll underbelly.
It's not the same persona as if you're from Toronto. Like U2 that have come through here, and Bob Dylan who's hung out here, and like it takes it on a different level for people that aren't from around Lake Ontario, you know, and that's really cool too, because when you're away, like you can be in Italy and somebody will be like, oh, Hamilton, Daniel Lanois, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's Hamilton, you know, and you know, so that's interesting in that aspect.
Tom Wilson was the driving force in the Florida Razors, an independent Hamilton band that tore up the music scene here. From there he went on to international success with Blackie and the Rodeo Kings and his solo work, but most specifically, Junkos.
But in Hamilton it was the Night 2 Coffee House, and that's where I really started playing music. It's where I got to see music being played right in front of my face, which was something odd because for the most part when you went to see music, you were sitting at the back of a hockey arena or a football stadium or the very best Massey Hall, but all of a sudden I was able to see people like Willie P. Bennett and the late Stan Rogers, the late Willie P. Bennett. I met a lot of the people that I would be working with or working around for the rest of my life. People like Dave Rave and Tim Gibbons and Frankie Venom and Gord Lewis.
The Hamilton music scene, it's Paul. Yeah, it's Paul. Hey, Paul. Yeah, so I found some things that are really interesting, man, about the Hamilton music scene that you can shove up your ass.
And as impressive as that may be, so what? What's so great about Hamilton's music scene today?
I'm getting to it, man. The Hamilton music scene has deep roots, deeper than anyone would think. It seems like Hamilton has its own identity of what the Hamilton music scene is today. And who better to talk to than those directly involved? I'm talking about the bands and the people who book the shows night in and night out. If anybody has an idea of what the Hamilton music scene is, it's probably those that make up the Hamilton music scene.
And hey, will you be?
Everyone, you know, seems to think go to Toronto if you want to make it big, but I think it's just kind of saturated them.
I think that being so close to Toronto sets a bar kind of high, and it sort of contributes to why Hamilton does so well, or at least tries to.
I think Hamilton, like, for the amount of people we have, the amount of really talented musicians is outstanding.
It's really diverse, man. It's you know, growing up, Hamilton was, for me, was predominantly a rock, a hard rock kind of thing.
There never seems to be a shortage of bands in Hamilton.
It's not really geared just to one genre.
Here, we play on urban albums, we play on rock albums, we play on country albums, we play on, you know, everything we do is all within the same circle, but it carries so many different genres. In other cities, you don't get that as much a close-knit community like that.
We just had two Hamiltonians go down to the International Blues Awards, Alfie Smith and Harrison Kennedy, who definitely hold their own on the world market.
I see like a lot of great talent, and I just like to see a lot more organization from venues and get some coverage and get known.
Curious to see where it'll go, you know, what the next thing will be. There seems to be a lot of like metal kids in Hamilton now, which there wasn't for a while. So there's a bunch of like new metal bands coming up, and there's a bunch of bands. I think with the Arkells doing really well, you're gonna see a bunch of kids being inspired, kind of the same way that when Teenage Head was really successful around 1978, 1979, all of a sudden there were a lot of new punk bands that started up in the Hamilton area.
I remember being grade 5 and buying that Teenage Head record with some kind of fun and let's shake on the other side of it, and thinking to myself, you know, even at 11 years old or whatever, what's going on in Hamilton? Like, and I knew they were from Hamilton right then. They'd go to Toronto and start riots at Ontario Place. You know, it seemed kind of, I was interested in that, and I think that, you know, obviously it changes and it goes through, you know, weak points and strong points, but I don't think that the weak points and strong points necessarily reflect a lack of activity or an increased amount of activity. I just think sometimes the spotlight shines on it and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, the Arkells are doing really well, so people think, hey, they're from Hamilton. You know, 15 years ago, someone might have said that, you know, Science Spheric's doing really well and they're from Hamilton, but I think it's always there in any city of this size. It has to be.
Again, getting back to the point about how we're close to Toronto, I think Hamilton feels like it has something to prove all the time because of that. We often, as Hamiltonians, battle stereotypes about our city, the industrial aspect, the dirty aspect, the lack of money, things that may or may not be true. And I think that a lot of the passion comes from striving to disprove those theories and those stereotypes.
When I was like 17, 18, starting to play, like with you guys back then, I just remember there was a lot more of a scene. Remember the Sonic Onion thing and Transit Union shows and all that kind of stuff. There's a big scene back then that kind of fizzled out, but it was like there was a lot more support back then. You know what I mean? It feels, and I was talking about this tonight. It's funny that right now it seems like there's so many bands sprouting up and people sprouting up. It's starting to kind of create something again. So who knows? Maybe we'll get back there. You know?